My name is Haley, and I am a fourth year.
Hey, I'm Candler Curtis. I'm a first-year grad student, and I'm involved with Grow.
My name is Celine Dang. I'm a senior, and I am a prayer small group leader, and I disciple with Wesley.
At the end of 2019, at the beginning of 2020, I realized that I wanted to kind of enhance my understanding of God and kind of figure out what the next step of my faith journey was. I always felt like I was just going to church and saying I was a Christian because that's what I'd always been doing. It's what my parents told me to do. And I didn't really have a relationship with the Lord.
Yeah, so my quarantine was actually a really sweet time because I don't get to spend a lot of time with my mom. So those 3 months or so with her were really nice. It was actually filled with a lot of hope and joy too, because ever since I came to know Jesus, like a big prayer for me has been for my family and my mom to come to know Jesus too. So it was, the time together was just a lot of God talks, and she kept asking me questions like, how do we hope in this time? Like, what do we hold on to, Celine? Like, how are you able to like find joy in this time? And it was just really sweet because like I got to wake up and just see where God was moving throughout COVID. And I remember thinking like, God, if like all of this season was just for this one talk with my mom, just for her to come and to realize that you're so good and like faithful through this, then like it was all worth it.
My experience leading up to August was honestly really difficult for me. This summer I lived in Athens with one other roommate, and it felt really hard for me to feel connected in a time when it didn't feel completely safe to gather or be together with anyone in my community. I felt a lot of pressure and anxiety around the fact that I had to make a lot of decisions that I knew would affect the other people around me that I saw consistently, and this caused me to face a lot of disconnect and nervousness and anxiety regarding the things that I was doing and whether it was safe or not.
So I'm a first-year grad student here at Georgia. I spent 4 years at the University of Tennessee up in Knoxville. And coming in, I was definitely a little bit nervous and anxious about how am I going to get to meet people, how am I going to get to learn how the town works. Just because with COVID, nobody's going out, nobody's going to class. So I had some anxieties just about like the social aspects of Athens.
Going into the fall semester, I was worried that I was going to continue to feel more disconnected as more and more people started coming into Athens, and I had to find more creative ways to spend time with my community. I was feeling really discouraged and drained, and I felt like I didn't really have any places that was pouring into me at all. Of course, I had things that I could do through technology, and I could spend time with friends outside, but it just felt really hard, and I felt really unmotivated.
Especially going into fall, I think something just fell off along the way. It got a little difficult to continue praying and hoping in those places and not see them really change much, especially with my senior year and my friend's senior year. Like with COVID setting in the way it did, I think our prayers kind of started feeling like a little aimless.
Before I knew the things that Wesley was going to be doing to create a safe environment, I kind of just assumed that Wesley might just be another thing that I'm going to have to say no to because I'm just not sure whether or not it'll be a safe place for me. However, after hearing about and seeing the ways that Wesley was going out of their way to foster an environment that was safe and comfortable for everyone, I felt relieved to know that I could come and I could connect and gather with a community in a safe environment.
You know, when I found out that Wesley wasn't going to be online only and that I could go out and meet people and just be in a spot where everyone came together to worship and we all had the same beliefs and same faith, that was super exciting for me, just to know that it may feel like I'm alone because of COVID, but we're all together in the end.
I don't think I even realized that I was fully like in that place of apathy until I went to a Wesley service one night actually, and Bob had stopped in the middle of his service and he just said, "Does anyone else feel this sense of apathy and disconnection?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, like I think that's me." And then the next day I woke up and I thought more about it and I was like, wow, wait, like I haven't encountered God the way that I desired to, the way that I know how to, like in 5 months or so. And it really scared me, honestly. I think what apathy in this time looked like for me was I had prayed and I'd prayed into all these places and I'd hoped, and when things didn't change, I think the enemy just kind of had me believing that like oh, like something must be wrong with either you or God, or something must be wrong with like what you're hoping in. And I think at some point, like, I just stopped choosing to like show up and choosing to expect things.
But, I started coming to the Wesley services here and getting involved in Grow, and I just felt like that relationship beginning to become stronger and stronger. I felt like I was in the right place, that I was learning things that I had never been taught before, or that I didn't know. And I just felt like I was at home and beginning to, get on the right track with my faith.
God's been moving in big ways, and honestly, I do not think that I would be here today speaking this the way that I am, like, if it weren't for that Wesley service, if it weren't for my small groups, my discipleships, like the community that I have here to even help me realize, like, hey, like, God's moving, like, be a part of it, come alive to it, and yeah, I just am so thankful that we get to meet as a body, that I get to come to this place and have people just encouraging me to keep like seeking God's heart in this time and like hold on to like what our hope lies.
I feel like I've been able to live out what I've learned through Wesley by allowing myself to say no to the things that I need to and yes to the things that encourage me to grow. I feel like I've been able to better connect with God and with my community by allowing myself to be in a posture to let God bring me into a place of abiding rather than striving.
Wesley's provided me with a community and just a place I can go and forget about my stresses and anxieties and just give my time to the Lord and worship and be at peace with where I am right now, no matter what's going on with school or the pandemic. It's been my anchor and my rock just to kind of center myself.
Being a part of Wesley and this body, what I've loved the most, like meeting in person, everything too, is that we get to come together and build community and be a part of what God is doing right now, but we get to do it safely. And I honestly do not think that I would be here today, like even realizing that I had been in apathy, that I had like not been hoping in God, if it weren't for like being a part of my discipleships, small groups, like being part of Wesley services. Like I just don't know how I would know how to like hope in this time and like how to continue showing up in this time without being a part of a body like this.
Through this time of inconsistencies and unknowns, Wesley has felt like such a refuge for me. I feel like God has taught me so much more about the consistency of his love for me through the way that I've had a consistent place to gather and be together and learn with my community. Specifically, something that I had really been desiring throughout the time of quarantine was a place to worship with other believers. Having a space that felt comfortable and safe at Wesley to gather together with other believers and worship and grow was so encouraging to me going into the semester.
I think something really cool that God was speaking to me in this time was like, you don't have to wait till COVID like lifts to begin living. Like I think a lot of us were feeling like, God, I don't know if I can go on any longer this way. And he's like, good, because you shouldn't have to. Like ever since you were in the womb, I knew that you would be here this way. Like this was my plan and my purpose for you, and nothing has deviated or added or taken away from this time and what I have for you. So the same permission and invitation to live that was before COVID is still here.
God has taught me just to keep the faith and know that everything's going to be okay as long as I pursue him and give my fears and my worries to him, that he'll take care of me and he'll see me through the end of this journey.
While I still feel like I have to struggle with the daily tension of the inconsistencies that come with this season, I felt so grateful for Wesley providing a space that feels safe and reminds me of the consistent love of God and encouraged me to rest in the fact that I am enough.